Hello, and thank you for joining today's demonstration to look at Reflector for Cisco. This is our login page, and I'll log into the platform. And I'll log in one more time. And so we're presented with the search bar functionality, just allows us the ability to quickly look up an employee, an extension, a phone number, and down below here, you see my last 8 searches. So quickly, I can just access one of these. I will choose Sandeep. And when looking at the data, it does default to the last 7 days. However, we can just quickly change the calendar to populate some more information. Down below, we can see the total number of voice calls, video calls, and conference calls with Cisco. And up above in the upper right quadrant, you see total calls, and it's highlighted by the service type, whether that's a voice call or video call, so you can see the from and to information. Down below, we get to see all conference calls that are organized by Sandeep, as well as any conference calls that are attended by Sandeep. Some may be duplicates, but in this case here, I will choose a specific conference call with 4 members. So again, working with dummy data, let me go back and choose with 6 members here. So this ability gives us the view as to see who joined the conference call and at what time they joined the conference call. Going back to the search bar functionality, you also have the ability to look up a specific hunt group. And again, it does default to a certain date range, but as an overview for the specific hunt group, you could see total calls, answered calls, calls that were missed, calls that went to voicemail. You do get an answered percent rate, which is also reflected here to the right, average call duration, and of course the all-important average queue time. Down below in this quadrant, you get to see the total volume of calls on a daily basis, both missed and answered. Being dynamic, I can remove one or the other so that I can see the total number of missed calls for that hunt group, again, for that date range chosen. And here you can see all the agents that make up that hunt group. So in that period of time, again, you get to see the total calls, total duration, average ring time, and again, that is broken out by each individual agent. Coming back to the front page, the landing page, the other areas that we navigate to are from here, this hamburger in the upper left. So I'll do the drop down here. And so real quickly, we're going to look at conferences. So a couple minutes ago, we looked at just Sandeep's conference calls. Here we get to look at the entire organization's conference calls. So if I want to choose one of these, I can open up and I can see all the participants, the time, duration, and of course the service type that they were using. What's particularly impressive about this page is we also have the ability to download this information into Excel. And as you can see on the column headers here, each column has a funnel. The funnel allows you to filter. So if you're looking for a specific call for a specific date or date range, or by organizer, it just allows you to filter that information from here. Now coming back to the hamburger menu, if you will. Now we're going to look at calls. So under the calls tab, a couple minutes ago, we looked at Sandeep's calls. Here we're looking at all calls that are happening throughout the organization. What we've added here on this page is the ability for each end user that's looking at this page, they can now drag and drop a column header. So now I'm sorting all this information by employee. So you can see I have Amit, I have a conference call, I have Derek, I have Dinesh, and I can continue to do that. So if I want to now move from employee to direction, employee, direction, duration. So what I'm building here is my own specific report for my own needs. So depending on the use case, whether it's a human resource manager, a sales manager, an IT manager, they're all going to be looking for specific information. So this allows you to customize your view. Again, over to the far right, you do have the ability to download this information to Excel or PDF. You can also add and remove columns. So you could scroll here, you could add columns, you can remove columns. So again, depending on what you want to search for or look for, you can create your own view. You get to save this layout. So if I click on save, save as, then I give it a name. I can list it as personal, meaning I'm the only one that's going to have access to this specific layout, or I can list it as common, meaning anybody can have access to that layout. So once I've named it and saved it, I can come back to the very last tab on load, and whatever you've named it will show up here. You click on that name and it'll reformat to however you filtered this page from here. So that's looking at total calls throughout the organization. Next, we're going to look at the dashboards. So under the dashboards, in this example, I have 4 monitors showing. Let me choose. And just to give you an idea, so this first icon, this is where we choose all the individual monitors. So if I open this up, you can see we have monitors listed by different categories, whether it's volume, productivity, capacity planning, quality, user adoption. Now, each end user, when they're creating their own layout, you come up to this new layout tab here, and you have the ability to have up to 9 monitors, or you could choose 6, or you could choose 4. And so once you click on the format, you then come into the very first icon, you choose all the individual monitors that you'd like, and then you can actually save this layout. But before we save this layout, I would like to also highlight the second icon here allows us to create filters. So here, if I click on the filter options, we could filter by department, by extensions, employees, and as you can see, all the filter options that are available. Same with the inbound call handling monitor that's shown here. We can open that up, and you can also see different filter options. Some of these monitors are dynamic. In this example, this is looking at outbound and incoming, so I can remove some of these here, and I can just look at total outbound calls. Let me bring that back, or just all incoming calls. Now, in this example, wherever you see a bubble, now that just means I can now then pull that report. So if I want to see those 3 inbound calls that were happening at 9 a.m., here they are. And again, you have the ability to filter this information. So if you're looking for a call for a specific time or by employee, or maybe you know that phone number, you could add that phone number here. So as I said, some of these monitors are dynamic. And again, you do have the filter options. So as an end user, once I've created all my layouts, I've added all my monitors, I built my filter options, then I get to save this layout, similar to that calls page, save as. I can give it a description. I list it as personal, again, so that I only have access to that layout, or common, meaning anybody can have access to that layout. Once you've named it and saved it, if you come up to the load button, you'll find this is where you get all your different layouts. So if I click on a different layout, click load, those are similar. Let me go back and find a different layout, click load. And these are just a couple saved layouts. And then, of course, you can always add back in different monitors. So let me go back to the original layout that I had. Now from here, just to note, we are looking at a single day. You do have the ability to look at trends. So if I click on trend, the trend button, and then what I do here is I change my date range. So instead of just looking at the single day, I'm now going to go to the beginning of May to today. And now I'm looking at a month's worth of data and activity. And again, I do have the ability to filter this information as well as save this individual layout. Any monitor can go full screen. So if I want to look at the monitor full screen, I can do that. And then I can bring it back. I can also save this monitor. So if I click save, it'll download to a PDF, and then I can save it and then email that off to somebody. You also have the ability to create global filters for the entire organization instead of just doing individual filters on a per monitor basis. So let's go back to the single day view of the dashboard. So far, if the information that you're looking for is not available, whether it's from the search bar functionality that I showed you, or some of the menu items from the drop down, Then we need to turn to reporting. So under the report aspect, which is really the heart and soul of the product, we have the ability to build our filters. We'll spend a couple minutes here, but just to let you know, we also have some standard reports or ready-made reports that are available. Under My Reports, each end user that has the ability to create a report can save that report into a folder. So if I click on My Reports, you'll see a list of folders. Several of these, again, we give you out of the box, but you also have the ability, and the goal is for you to create your own filters or folders so that you can save your own reports. And we'll show that functionality once I build a report. Report Designer is responsible for pulling columns for your report. And as you would suspect, each report or any report can be scheduled. So if I click on my scheduled reports, it gives you a short list here of all reports that are currently scheduled to run. You can have literally pages and pages of scheduled reports. Provides the frequency, whether they're enabled or not, last run, next run, the current status. And if you need to change any of the filter options, you have the ability to just go back into the report itself. Going back to my report page, just lastly, I'd like to show you that report style. You have the ability to add a logo to your report, add a marketing message, add colors to column headers, just provides for complete customization. But as I said, we're going to look at the filter options that are available for any report. And let me collapse this first box. So here you can see we have all these folders that you can filter by. You don't need to, but there are some that you do need to fill out. So as an example, if I open up this general filter, for the report that I want to build, I want to grab data from April 1st to April 30th. I want Monday through Friday, but if you'd like to add in the weekends, it's literally just a matter of selecting or deselecting. And then in this example for this report, I'm going to look at outbound and incoming traffic, and it's going to be voice traffic only. So then I collapse that box. Gives you the ability under time here, if I want to grab data only for certain periods of the day, so maybe 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or calls with a certain duration, calls with a certain ring time. We can upload tariff tables, so you can put costs associated with calls if you choose to. Under organization, this gives you the ability to look at different departments or employees as an example. So really defining your complete filter options. Here you could actually do it by a hunt group. Under destination, if you had a specific phone number, you could add that phone number here as well as in the search bar. Under infrastructure, if you had different gateways, you could pull data there. On the network side, if you had IP address ranges, you could look at those ranges or pull reports there. Under call types, as an example, if I want to include abandoned calls in my report, I want to exclude abandoned calls in my report, or I don't care. I just leave it in the middle. So it's literally a matter of toggling back and forth depending on what you want to filter on. And the very last step that you need to take is you choose your format. Now the format will drive the columns. Again, we give you several canned formats, but the ultimate goal is for you to create your own format so you have your own customized reports. So in this example, I will choose summary, and I am going to deselect these to show you the functionality in a quick second. So before I save this report and email it off, I want to look at it real quick. So here I'm just going to run it. And that format that I chose, that summary format, I knew was going to call for calls, duration, and cost. Here's where the logo would go. This is where you could put your marketing message or your address. As you can see, these column headers are color-coded. As an example, if there was multiple pages, you could scroll here. We do have the search bar functionality. So if there were names and phone numbers, search for them. You can export this report to PDF, Excel, Word, or CSV. You could also send this report to a whole bunch of different email addresses right from here. You would just list all those email addresses, give it a subject, and you get to choose the format from here. But overall, this report is not giving me the information that I would like. So I'm going to go back to my report builder page, and now I'm going to sort and summarize those columns by department. But just to let you know, we have other options you could choose from, whether it be day, date, direction, employee, just a plethora of information day of the week. But in this example, I am just going to look at the department. So I'm going to sort those columns you saw by department by clicking Group By. I'm also going to add a chart. We can map up to 5 elements on the y-axis. My report had 3 columns. So in this example, I could do calls, cost, and duration, but I'm only going to choose 2 out of the 3. Then you choose your report format or your chart format. Same report, let me run that again. So I still have my same 3 columns, but this is how I group those columns by department or organizational unit, and you can change this name here. And you can see I added the chart with my departments, and I looked at calls and duration only. So one thing to note is there's detailed reports and summary reports. In this example, I chose a summary report so I can drill down into a specific department. And then if I want to go look at Michael's one call, I can do that from here as well. So now this is the report that I wanted. Let me go back to the report builder. Now I get to save that report, save as. This is where I give it a name, and then I choose here, and this is where I put it in one of those folders that I showed you earlier. So once I've saved it and named it, that's saved, and you also have the ability to schedule the report. So if I click on schedule, you could literally run this right now, which will run in 5 minutes, or you could choose any frequency you come up with. You just need to make sure you give it a name here, list out or choose the format, list out all the email addresses from here. And once you click save, it'll then be saved in that scheduled report bucket that I showed you earlier. So that is the quick overall view of ReflectR, looking at the search bar functionality, the dashboards, some of the information that's contained within calls and conferences, as well as the heart and soul of the product being the report aspect. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.